This is video 4 of 8 covering the Chapter 16 problem application type questions in the Primary Exam 2 Study Guide. We're starting at the top of page 6. We'll go through page 8 in this video. We're going to do a production cost report. So it's always going to be weighted average. We've got Fields Company. They got 2 manufacturing departments, forming and painting. They report this for forming. So this is what's happening in their forming department. They've got these work in process in the beginning. That's how many they start. That's how many are completed and transferred. How many is an ending work in process. You got the percentage complete for your direct materials and conversion. You've got these costs assigned to the inventory. I'm asked to calculate equivalent units of production for direct materials and conversion for the forming department. That's the department I have. You will be given this chart in a supplemental pack so that you don't have to flip back and forth all the time. You are given the chart to calculate all these things, to get your amounts for the journal entry. I would suggest you basically start filling this in and using the production cost report. You do not have to use this chart, the production cost report chart, but I think it will make your life tremendously easier if you do. We'll go back through and I'll talk about how you could calculate these manually or without the chart. But right now, let's just start here. So this is my inventory information. This is section 1, the units to account for. Beginning work in process units. Comes from there. Unit started, 300. 300 plus 25, I've got 325,000 units to account for. Started with 25, added 300 more, so I should be able to account for all 325 of those between what I've still got and what moved out of process in the period, what was completed and transferred. I've got 295 completed and transferred. Ending work in process, what I've still got on the line is 30,000. 295 plus 30 also equals 325. At the end of this section here, or really after I've completed these two, I can go ahead and mark out these top 2 lines, including their percentages complete. And I would suggest you do that because those percentages complete right there end up throwing a lot of you off or confusing a lot of you when you get down here. So once you get finished with this part right here, or once you get finished with this section, you're done with those top 2 lines. You're not going back to them. So you can mark them out and avoid confusion. So completed and transferred units, 295. Ending work in process units, the 30,000. I'm trying to calculate equivalent units of production for direct materials completed, direct materials ending work in process, conversion cost completed, conversion cost and ending work in process. I'm trying to calculate those. To calculate those, I take these units and I multiply them by those percentages complete. will get those equivalent units of production. I will add those up for both completed and transferred and ending work in process for both to get total aggregate EUPs. These are my 4 individual, and these are my 2 total EUPs. So we're going to come back to that in a minute. I need percentages complete. If I look at the data, I'm told that this ending work in process has 100% of the direct materials, and it's complete. It's got 100% of direct materials and 30% of the conversion cost within it. I don't have any percentages here for conversion or direct materials for completed and transferred, but note it is completed. If it is completed, it is always 100%. So this completed is always 100% for both. $295 times 1, $295, $295 times 1 is $295. 30,000, I've got 100% of the direct materials in there, so I've got 30,000 units worth of direct materials. 30,000 times 30% of the conversion cost in those units. So 30,000 times 0.3, I've only got 9,000 units worth of conversion cost. I'm still not complete with respect to those. If it is an ending work in process, I expect that at least one of these will not be complete. And for us, it's almost always conversion cost. So obviously, if both of those were 100, it would be completed and shouldn't be there. It would have been completed and transferred. One of these, typically conversion, will be incomplete. So I've got 295,000 units worth of direct materials in the units I accounted for in this period. 30,000 units worth of direct materials and ending work in process for this period. So between the direct materials in my completed and the direct materials in my ending work in process, throughout this period, I had a total of 325,000 units worth of direct materials. 295 plus 9, I had a total of 304,000 units worth of conversion cost. We'll come back to that in a minute. Now I'm asked for cost per EUP. So I know that I have 325,000 units worth of direct materials in my cost. I've got 304,000 units worth of conversion cost in my total cost, or in my conversion cost. So I need to get the total cost and allocate it out over those total units of direct materials and those total units of conversion cost. So first, get your cost. After this, I'm finished with the inventory info. I want these cost info. I need, note that says beginning work in process, direct materials. Beginning work in process, direct materials. $74,000. Beginning work in process, conversion cost. 15,300. Beginning conversion. Next, cost added, direct materials. Cost added, direct materials. $982,250. Cost added, conversion. $896,700. I've used all of those costs. Add them up. 74,000 plus 982,250. $1,056,250. See, it says total cost, so I'm adding them up. And then for conversion, I had 15,300 in the beginning. I added 896,700 more. I've got $912,000 in conversion cost in my inventory that I'm accounting for. I want to allocate that out over the equivalent units of production I've got in total for direct materials and conversion cost. So you're going to use these totals. So these total lines go immediately below here. And once I use them, I'm going to mark them out. I only use them once. So I had $1,056,250 in total direct material cost, which represented 325,000 equivalent units of production in direct materials. So I'm going to allocate them out over those 325,000 EUP of direct materials. I get $3.25 per EUP for direct materials. I had $912,000 in total conversion cost, which represented 304,000 conversion equivalent units, which comes out to be $3 per EUP for conversion. Even note how it's phrased. Get the total cost. You're going to add those. Divide by equivalent units of production. Bring down the totals for direct materials and conversion. I get $3.25 per EUP for direct materials, $3 for conversion. I'm going to use those cost per EUP. Here and here. So for direct materials, $3.25. For conversion is $3 per EUP. You should always get pretty clean numbers like that. You should not have like long decimal point. Like you shouldn't get anything like 3.33333. You should basically have it out to like cents. It should round out to cents. At least that's the way I try to stage it in the exam. Okay, now I'm trying to calculate the cost assigned to completed and transferred inventory and ending work in process. The completed and transferred inventory is going to have costs relating to direct materials, going to have costs relating to conversion. Same thing with ending work in process. I know how much each EUP cost me. I need to know how many EUPs of direct materials I've got in the completed and transferred inventory. How many EUPs of conversion cost I've got in completed and transferred. And the same thing with ending work in process. I have 4 spots for EUPs, and I need in those spots these 4 individual EUPs that correspond to these categories. So I need the EUP for completed direct materials, completed and transferred direct materials, 295. Completed conversion, that 295. Ending direct materials, 30,000. Ending conversion, 9,000. Once I get those, I'm ready to multiply. To calculate this, I've got equivalent units of production. Each of them cost me so much a piece. So to get the total cost, if I know how many I have, I know how much each of them cost me. I just multiply them to get the total cost. And then I will add those up to get the total cost assigned to ending work in process and to completed and transferred inventory. 295 times 3.25, 958, 750. $885,000, add those up, 1,843,750. Then I've got for ending work in process 30,000 units worth of direct materials at $325 a piece. That's $97,500 in direct material cost. 9,000 times 3 is 27,000 in conversion cost in ending work in process. Add those up. Get 124,500 and total cost in ending work in process for this department. In total, I've accounted for cost equal, so the total cost of the inventory that I've accounted for, 1,843,750 in completed inventory, 124,500 is what I still have in ending work in process for the forming department. That means I've accounted for inventory costing 1,968,250. I can check against my given total cost info. It should be the same. I should account for all the cost of the inventory that I have, 1,968,250, 1,968,250. That is a good sign. This right here is one of the most common areas for mistakes. Make sure you don't just use these down here. You want to use the individual EUPs. And they go in order of 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can also just match up their labels with the labels here and here. So let's use that information now to answer the questions here. EUP for direct materials and conversion. EUP direct materials for the forming department. All this is for the forming department. The data itself is for the forming department. So EUP direct materials, 325. Basically, it's the things that are the outcomes, the last things you do in any one of these sections. like this is section 1. All the way up to here is section 2. From that bolded header all the way down to the next is section 3. From here to here is section 4. You got 4 sections. The last thing that you do in any of those sections are basically what you're going to be putting in the blanks in your answer document. Cost per EUP for direct materials and for conversion cost. Cost per EUP for direct materials is $3.25. For conversion, it's $3. And then I want to assign cost. Cost assigned to goods transferred. Cost assigned to ending work in process performing. Completed and transferred. Ending work in process. This is completed and transferred. This is ending work in process. 1,843,000. 750 is what I completed and transferred. 124,500 is what is an ending work in process. In the journal entry, I want to record the transfer of goods from forming to painting. This is what I assigned to goods transferred. That is the amount that I want in that journal entry because it is what is transferred. It's going from forming to painting. So it's leaving forming. Forming is going down, decrease an asset with a credit. It's going to painting. Painting is going up, increase an asset with a debit. Okay. So you should note this is the amount that goes in your journal entry because it's the amount that was transferred. Yeah. Like I said, this makes it a lot easier. If you want to do the formulas, if you don't want to do the formulas, you don't want to see that, you don't want to work through it, you can go ahead and go to the next video. If you want to see how I would work this out by hand in this location, it would go like this. EUP for direct materials, I would just take, I want to get it for completed and transferred and for ending work in process. So how many equivalent units of production or how many units worth of direct materials did I have in completed and transferred? I had 295,000 units. What percentage of direct materials did I have in those? If it's completed, I had 100% of the materials in it, 100% of the conversion cost in it. So the ending work in process, I had 30,000 of those units. how many units worth of direct materials did I have in those 30,000 units? It says 100%. So I had 295,000 in completed, 30,000 in the ending work in process. Altogether, I had 325,000. What about for conversion cost? So we're looking here. How much did I have in conversion, or how many units of conversion cost did I have in completed? They were completed, so I had 100% of the conversion cost necessary for those units. Otherwise, they wouldn't be completed. There were 30,000 units in ending work in process. I had 30% of the conversion cost for those 30,000 units. I had 30% of the conversion cost. So 30,000 times 0.3, or 30% of the cost. That's about 9,000 units worth of conversion cost. So 295,000 units of conversion cost in completed, 9,000 units worth of conversion cost in ending work in process. Altogether, I had 304,000 units worth of conversion cost in inventory. That's either completed or in ending work in process. Calculate cost per EUP for both direct materials and conversion cost. So I need cost per EUP. Per means divided by. I need my total cost divided by the equivalent units of production for both of them. So my total cost for direct materials, 74, plus 982, 250, 1,056,250. I want to allocate those out over the EUPs for direct materials, that 325. $325 per EUP. Then for conversion, 15,300, 896, 700. $912,000. That 912,000 represents 304,000 units worth of conversion cost. $3 per EUP for conversion cost. Then I want to assign cost to the goods transferred. So direct materials had cost me $325 per EUP. Conversion cost had cost me $3 per EUP. How many EUPs worth of direct materials do I have in goods transferred? Direct materials completed and transferred, I had 295. I had 100% of those, so I had 295,000 equivalent units of production for direct materials. How many units worth of conversion costs did I have in the goods transferred? $295. So conversion completed and transferred, I had $295. $885,000. Add those up. $1,843,750. In ending work in process, direct materials, add 30,000 units worth of direct materials. $97,500. 9,000 units worth of conversion. That comes out to 27,000. Add those up. $124,500. If you want formulas, essentially for EUPs, you want to split out the completed and transferred and the ending work in process for each of these. And then take the units times the percent complete for their category, and then add them up for each category. To get cost per EUP, you want to get total cost for each of the categories and divide it by their total EUPs. To assign cost, you want to get the direct material. You want to get their cost per EUP times the EUPs for each of their categories. And then sum those up to get the cost assigned. What amount you record here will always be the amount for the transferred goods. Okay, that is the end of video 4. We'll pick back up with video 5 on page 9 of the primary study guide for exam 2.